von Paardt. Welcome. Look forward to your insights. Please introduce yourself.
Yeah, thank you, Mark. It's an absolute pleasure, of course. I'll be short on this one. I'm running two family offices, one for a British family and one for a Polish American family. And I met you, Mark, a little over 2 years ago, in your office in Bryant Park, and it seems, by the way, like a decade. With a plan sort of to conquer the world with a new and better family office platform. And I think we all, including you, have underestimated the sort of ferocity, intensity, frequency, and diversity of contact points and connections that it's all brought. This network of sort of close connections and support and cooperation has really become, for us, and for me at least, an indispensable benefit for the 361 community and for us.
Great, same. So thank you. Well, now let's reflect on 2020. I think, how many times did we have a tea or a coffee or a glass of wine near Bryant Park? But what was your worst or best decision as you look back?
I'm lucky and fortunate enough that I have to choose between two very good ones, and I might actually, take two instead of one. That were very near and dear to my heart, and also near and dear to the community. First one was a great investment, and most certainly the most exemplary investment for 2020, which was support for a small healthcare company that had the bold vision to become the leading end-to-end COVID testing company, offering on-site and remote learning strategies, remote testing strategies. With the right mix of ingredients, the right people and the right partners, they put in place something great. They skyrocketed into orbit, winning contracts in Florida, in Vegas, and FEMA, just to name a couple. And they grew turnover tenfold in a period of 6 months. And now we're shooting for the moon. Super happy to be connected with and support Chris Wood, my good friend and business partner, who's running that company in an amazing way, and grateful to be part of it. And as the punchline, obviously, it's also part of the 361 network. So that's one. And the second one, which actually was only a September investment of ours, was in the Yelp of cannabis, an online platform that sells cannabis to retailers and runs, I take that back, an online platform that sells software for cannabis to retailers and runs an online platform for consumers and businesses. And just announced a merger into a SPAC through another company in the 361 ecosystem. So you get where this is going.
And yet you're making another one, which is great. So let's look ahead to 2021. Let's let it, how do you predict it? One aspect of it.
So interestingly enough, I'm a numbers guy, as you know, and number 21 is associated with luck, risk, taking chances, and rolling the dice. 21 is the number if you add all the spots on the dice, as many people will obviously know, and it's a very appropriate number, I think, for next year. So there's three trends I think that are important to us. There's many trends, obviously, but three trends are important to us, and that are running through our investment themes and theses. And the first one is, as the economies bounce back from the pandemic, recovery will be uneven, we think, with local outbreaks and lockdowns that come and go, and governments oscillating from keeping companies on life support to helping workers who have lost or may lose their job. And the gap between strong and cash-rich firms and weak firms will widen. But we also will see strong firms without the opportunity to raise capital and fulfill their expansion vision, for example. And we see in that investment thesis into those companies in the lower middle market, particularly, who will need a financial lifeline, but whose business is solid otherwise. And so that's one. The second one is, and that's sort of a silver lining in a way, and the silver lining is that we all get the chance to take action on climate change. Government will invest in green recovery plans to create jobs and cut emissions. And the pandemic is expected to cause a reduction of nearly, I want to say, 8% in global CO2 emissions in 2020, which is very significant. And the EU says it will reduce all its greenhouse gases emissions to net zero by 2050, in line with what the IPCC says is necessary to hit the 1.5-degree Paris target. China's goal is to reduce carbon emissions to net zero by 2060, and the European Commission plans to spend 30% of its recovery package on climate action. And these moves will facilitate global transition to a green economy and obviously keep global temperatures significantly lower than they might have otherwise been. But that's not enough. For example, China and India are still supporting coal stimulus, which is not great. So there's a little bit of good and a little bit of bad there. But the good news is that companies are following suit. Macquarie, our good friend working, and just announced last week that they, over $100 billion of assets, will have a net zero business plan in 2 years. A couple hundred of the largest companies in the world have pledged similar net zero goals in 2020. And in 2021, we will see that more companies and people will follow suit with their pledges. And the trend will continue or probably accelerate. And monies will be designated for investment in impact, sort of green everything, but also smarter, more sustainable lifestyle choices. And we'd very much like to invest in this. And then the third one, which is a little bit of a layup, but layups give generally good returns, is that the cannabis industry will boom. Hemp, psychedelics, CBD will too. The legalization of drugs for medicinal use obviously paving the way for a broader liberalization. And the combined legal sales for medical and adult use cannabis will be around 35 billion in 2025, which is 15 to 20% annual growth. And that's a conservative estimate. Mm-hmm. It's widely supported by the population and widely supported by the government as well that's coming in. And as of last week, you saw that there's a direct path to the stock market, not just via Canada, trailblazed by Silver Spike. And so while there are some roadblocks for some institutional capital to invest in this market, we think the time is now for family offices to invest in this space.
So let's turn from investing to philanthropy, trying to make money and help the world. What's your philanthropic focus and goal for 21?
Yeah, so interestingly enough, and it's very much something near and dear to my heart, is we try to bring people together to increase smart environmental giving. And I think the biggest fundamental threat to our existence is climate change, I think, and therefore I want to focus personally and I think also professionally in terms of philanthropy on that, mitigating that threat. We just, with one of our companies, have onboarded and are onboarding in a philanthropy that's called 1% for the planet. It's sort of a global movement, inspiring businesses and individuals to support environmental solutions, both through memberships as well as through everyday actions. And they advise on giving strategies and certify donations and amplify the impact of the network. And the idea is that businesses committing to donate the equivalent of 1% of gross sales directly to environmental not-for-profits that are vetted. And then 1% for the planet is providing services like partnership, advising, pairing members with the environmental non-profits they like, and trying to make the biggest impact possible for their clients. And the interesting thing that happened is that company that we onboarded there was immediate massive amount of interest for this. And it gave employees of the company a lot of inspiration to take part in this process, researching and selecting the nonprofits they wanted to be associated with. So it was very inspiring and had sort of a viral experience. To be sure, it's a sizable commitment, but I'm planning to make it personally as well, and I think it's great.
That's great. And then your asks, how can we help Eddy van der Paardt?
Yeah, this is a big thing. I recently made the decision to team up with Rich Sobel, who's most of the folks at 361 will know, to create an entrepreneurial investment platform focusing on venture and lower middle market private equity opportunities, serving family office networks. We think timing is right because of the dislocation in the marketplace and because of some of the themes and trends I've referred to earlier. And in 2021, we're rolling the dice, so to speak, because we're excited for the opportunity to build and back companies and great entrepreneurs and managers. And we feel and understand the power of this community and are looking forward closely to working with many of you in the new year to make this happen.
Excellent. Well, I want to comment, but I'll comment on that later. Let's leave it to one word for 2021. I think I probably know what it is or sense of it, but.
That's interesting. It may not be what you think it is, but I chose the word pivot. And the pivot is there's two. There's the verb pivot is to move something in a curved way, which is in order to be relevant, meaningful, or productive. And lots of humanity, companies and governments will have to pivot in 2021. But also pivot in the basketball term, where a player maintains one foot in contact with the ground firmly without changing his position on the floor, while he utilizes the other foot in order to rotate their body to improve their position to take a shot. And that's exactly what I'm going to do.